What do you want to see come back then?
Might be a bit of a boring choice, but it's because it's my all-time favourite. GoldenEye. I love GoldenEye.
No.
But
Ooh, boring. Come on.
what are you booing
They've done
me
it.
for?
They did it like
They've done
three
it.
times and nobody cared.
I want a good GoldenEye game.
Press X to continue.
Okay, let's talk about forgotten franchises then. So what do I mean by that? So basically, titles that were big back in the day, not even big actually, but titles that were made back in the day that we think should be brought back, because there's been a big trend of remakes recently. Final Fantasy VII, the Resident Evil games, stuff like that have gone down really well. So we wanted to talk about other franchises that should make a comeback. Gav, what do you think we should be playing again? Because they're big at the moment, but there are some titles out there that we haven't touched yet. What would you want to see back on your consoles?
Well, until like 2 weeks ago, it would have been Max Payne. And then Remedy just surprise dropped that. They're going to be remaking Max Payne 1 and 2 in the Control engine. So I was like, until that, I was like, fine. But it's got to be Silent Hill, isn't it? Like, look at what Resident Evil has done with all of their remakes, even their HD remakes. Give me one of them. But, going back through, rebuilding the engine, taking a brand new engine and laying it on all their old games. It's got to be Silent Hill. I think people would lose their absolute boxes for that.
Yeah, they would, wouldn't they? I mean, we Claire did a clap in the studio as soon as you said Silent Hill. Because they've talked about Silent Hill. So if you've never played Silent Hill before, it's like it's the scariest game I remember. It just made fog terrifying. That's what I remember of the original Silent Hill. It's big business now, remakes. You talked about Resident Evil there, Gav. We talked briefly about Streets of Rage, Final Fantasy VII, Monkey Island was announced the other day. Splinter Cell has been announced that it's coming back. Super Mario Strikers is a game that is coming back. For me, the game that I can't believe hasn't been remade in hasn't been, I don't know, it's been 10 years plus. I like driving. I like fighting in games. Why can't I drive and fight Road Rash?
Oh, yeah.
I thought you were going to say
on.
like Destruction Derby or Twisted Metal.
Well, yes, also, Glenn, good point. But let's start with Road Rash. I want to punch somebody off a motorbike, please. Thank you very much. Why isn't that happening?
I don't know. There's nothing like that at the moment, is there?
That's what I'm saying, Glenn.
Yeah. There's a market for it. I'd do that.
I really want you to get that on a t-shirt. I want to punch someone off a motorbike.
Yeah.
Just wear it on Press X.
I'm not a violent man, Claire, but sometimes it's nice to have a release for it, and I feel like Road Rash could be the one for me. We got this in from Alan on Twitter. One for you, Gav. He wants to bring back Jonah Lomu Rugby.
Oh, yes. Or just a good rugby game, other than the Sevens rugby which I've talked about on this podcast about 1 million times. The Sevens rugby and Mario vs. Sonic at the Olympic Games. That is an amazing rugby game. But yeah, bring Jonah Lomu Rugby back. Yeah. How has that not happened? Possibly
a niche conversation for the two Welshmen on the program. Claire, what do you want to see come back then?
Might be a bit of a boring choice, but it's because it's my all-time favourite. GoldenEye. I love GoldenEye.
No.
But
ooh, boring. Come on.
What are you booing
They've
me
done
for?
it. They did it like three times and nobody cared.
I want a good GoldenEye game. I know. But I want that feeling that I had. I guess it's more I'm chasing nostalgia.
Yeah.
And I want that kind of like feeling that I had when I first played GoldenEye. And I know there are plenty of other games out there. There are modern games that do those similar things. But I want that music. I want that feeling. I want those levels. And I want it done right, And that's what I want. And I want that nostalgia.
Glenn, what's your shout?
I think my priority is Time Splitters.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, I think tonally, as a first-person shooter, I thought the campaign was amazing, but the multiplayer was such good fun.
Yeah.
And completely of a different tone to most of the shooters we see today. It didn't have the sort of serious grittiness of Call of Duty, but also it had the sort of cartoony, edible-looking characters, but it wasn't as cartoony and childish as some stuff like Fortnite looks. It was just that perfect balance in between. And I just want to run around a restaurant as a chef killing calamari again. I just want that. It was so fun. But again, one where if you try and replay it now, it's difficult to play control-wise.
Claire, there's been a bit of a sort of change in perspective when it comes to this. I think when a lot of these remakes sort of came back into fashion, a lot of people were saying this is actually quite a cynical ploy. It's lazy from games companies. They're just taking something they know's popular and successful and just whacking the new graphics on and then hey presto, live with it. But actually there's a big call from the game's community and players to see more of this happening now. It's like the tone of the conversation is totally shifted.
Yeah, I think so. It's different from when, you have movie remakes. For me, it's different because I want to get immersed in that world again, but it feels slightly different, like because of the technology and what we can do now. I'm imagining, for example, I mentioned GoldenEye, but I'd like to change my answer to James Pond.
Yeah.
Because but I'm imagining what that might be like to play again and not on the Atari, So things like that is like that's nostalgia element, but also being immersed in a world that feels similar yet different, I think is quite important for gamers. It's so different from just going, oh, it's a movie remake.